الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وخليله صلى الله عليه وسلم والصلاة والسلام على من أرسله رحمة للعالمين عن نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ثم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. طيب inshallah ta'ala, we're going to continue with the 40 hadith of Imam Nawawi rahimahullah, and we actually stopped on the 29th hadith of Imam Nawawi. For those who have a smartphone or any type of device, they can go to the 29th hadith of Imam Nawawi, the 29th hadith of Imam Nawawi inshallah ta'ala. We actually last class we focused on the first half of the hadith, and actually we're going to focus on the second half of the hadith. In the second half of the hadith is actually we're going to translate it and then we're going to explain it inshallah. So at this point, Mu'adh bin Jabal radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he is sitting with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam already told him about particular things that will help him and aid him to get to Jannah. And one of the things that he goes on to mention, the Prophet ﷺ then says, after everything that he mentioned about the fasting and also about praying at night, the Prophet ﷺ says, "Shall I not inform you that which controls all of that?" قُلْتُ بَلَى يَا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ. Mu'adh said, "Of course, O Messenger of Allah." فَأَخَذَ بِلِسَانِهِ قَالَ قُفَّ عَلَيْكَ هَذَا. The Prophet ﷺ at that point, he took his tongue and he said, "Refrain from this, stop using this." قُلْتُ يَا نَبِيَ اللَّهِ. He said, "O Messenger of Allah, will be held accountable for that which we say." The Prophet ﷺ basically mentioned, he said, "Are you serious, O Mu'adh?" And then he said, حَيُكُبُّ النَّاسَ فِي النَّارِ عَلَى الْوُجُوهِهِمْ أَوْ عَلَى مَنَاخِرِهِمْ إِلَّا حَيْسَائِدَ أَلْسِنَتِهِمْ. The Prophet ﷺ went on to mention that, is there anything that will cause the people to be thrown in the hellfire on their face except that which they say with their tongue? Alright? So, once again, the Prophet ﷺ at this point, he's advising Mu'adh to stay away from or be cautious of the tongue. So this is actually what we're going to talk about today, inshallah ta'ala, about the seriousness of the tongue. So before we actually begin, inshallah, who can tell me, especially from the shabab, from the youth, why is it important to be careful what you say?
Because Allah is always listening.
Because Allah is always listening. Tayyib. What else?
There's two angels recording everything you say.
So there's two angels that record everything that you say. Jimmy, Tayyib. What else? So again, the question is, why should we be mindful of what we say? Why would the Prophet ﷺ, why would he stress, "Kuffa alayk hada"? Beware of this. Right? Be cautious. Don't use it too much. Why would the Prophet ﷺ say that? أَخَذَ لِسَانِهِ أَخَذَ بِلِسَانِهِ. He took his tongue and he said, "Kuffa alayk hada." Why would he say that? Don't know? Okay. What is some sins you can commit with your tongue? With your speech, what you say? What is a sin? What can you do with your mouth?
Talking about somebody behind the back.
Right, backbiting, right? What about lying? Right? A lot of things a person can do with what? With that which he says. So before we actually continue, I want to give some advice. Now, I want to talk about two different men that meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright? So for those, Shabab, once you get a Quran, somebody over here, you get a Quran in English. Sheikh, do you have a Quran in English?
Yeah.
Can you get one?
Yes.
Oh, you got your glasses? Play your levels. Alright, so he's going to be the reader, inshallah.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about two different men that actually meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright, one who prepared for this meeting, and then one who didn't prepare for this meeting. Alright, this is Surah Al-Haqqa, 69, verse number 19. So you're going to start at 69, verse number 19. Huh? But ain't no problem, Sheikh. No problem. 69, Haqqa, verse number 19. 69, 19. Can we find it for you?
Yeah.
Alright. 69, 19. 69:19. You're gonna start from here. So again, we're talking about two different men. One who has prepared for the meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one who did not prepare for this particular meeting. Go ahead, Sheikh.
Then he that will be given his record in his right hand will say, I here read my recording. I did not think that my account would one day reach me.
I did not, or I did think?
Oh, I did.
I did. So the first one here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing, talking about for the first man, right? Allah says, Amma man, as for who will be given his record in his right hand, right? In his right hand, this man will rejoice and say, I really did think that one day I will what? I will meet my record. I will know how I will meet this day and standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Go ahead.
And he will be in a life of bliss, in a garden of high. The fruits will fall with of will hang in bunches low and near.
Right, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says that in this particular individual, he's going to be in a lofty place in Jannah, where the trees will bow itself and give them to this person. But this only happened to this particular individual. Why? Because he prepared himself with this meeting with Allah. 1 second. He prepared himself for this particular meeting. Okay? This is the only reason why this is happening to this individual, because he prepared. He really knew that he was going to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we're going to explain the connection of this ayah with this hadith. So keep reading, Sheikh. Salih, we're actually on Surah Al-Haqqa, verse number 19.
With full satisfaction because of the good that is seen before you in the day that are gone, and he will be given his recordings in his left hand.
All right, stop. So therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala finished talking about the man who was given his record in his right hand, who prepared for this day, right? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, at this point, he's giving Mu'adh some advice. And the advice that he's giving Mu'adh, he says, "Kuffa alik hadha." He akhadha bi lisanihi qal, "Kuffa alik hadha." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam took his tongue and said, "Stop using this, or beware of using this." Mu'adh at that point, he says, "O Messenger of Allah, will we not be held accountable for that which we say?" The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, basically in a nutshell, says, "Are you serious, Mu'adh? What causes the people what other reason why the people be thrown in the hellfire on their face except for that which they say with their tongue?" So therefore, the relation to this particular part of the hadith and that ayah is that this man, Allah is talking about, took the deen seriously. He understood what he had to do. He tried his best to apply the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he knew that what? He will meet this day. Alright? The second man that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about, Salih, can you read the next verse?
Verse 20.
Should be 23.
23.
I believe so.
The fruits were
After that, where it says, as for the man who will be given the record in his left hand? 25. Mm-hmm.
And he that will be given his record in his left hand will say, "Oh, would that my record had not been given to me."
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, as for the man who was given his record in his left hand, this man will say, what? I wish my record was never even given to me. Now keep holding on what you see. He said, I don't want what? I wish my record was never ever given to me. But he said something special, not really special, but he said something deep. The next verse, go ahead.
And that I had never released how my account stood.
This man says, I never even knew how my account stood with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The reason why this is important, ikhwan, is because a lot of us, including myself, a lot of us, sometimes we go throughout the day, people curse, people lie, people do this, people do that, right? They backbite, they slander, all these particular things. And we don't even think about the seriousness of what we're saying. And this is why also the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned in another hadith, he said that a man will say something, وَلَا يُبَالِي بِهَا, And this man will say something, he won't think nothing of it. Like, it won't be a big deal, but it's something big with who? With Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And by what he said, he will get the anger of Allah, and Allah will throw him in the hellfire because of it. And likewise, a man may say something, and when he says a particular thing, he may not think that it's not a big deal, but it's a big deal to who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and because of it, Allah will forgive him and grant him what? Grant him what? What does Allah give you in return and hereafter? Something that you want. What does he give you? Jannah. Alright? Alhamdulillah. So therefore, the reason why we're addressing this is because this man said something in the 26th verse. He said, I didn't even know how my record stood. And again, including myself and a lot of us, we go throughout our day, we're not mindful, we don't fast, we don't do these particular things. So we lie, we joke, or even in the midst of our joke. The Prophet said he would tell the truth when he was joking, right? But a lot of us, just to make the people laugh, will do what? We'll lie. We make fun of each other. We make fun of our brothers, we make fun of our sisters, and so on and so forth. We backbite each other. So therefore, as this particular man said, I didn't even know how it stood with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Next verse. Go ahead, Saleh.
With that made an end of me.
Right, and this particular verse on 27.
Yeah, it said.
On this
with
particular,
death.
right. I wish death was the it. I wish death was the end. But la, it's not the end. The reality is that we will all have to meet what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says throughout the Quran, فَإِلَيْنَا مُرْجِعُهُمْ. And to us is their return. That is not it. Once you die, that's not what? It's not over. And that goes to show you the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That every last one of us has to stand before Allah Jalla wa ala for that which you did, the good of it, and also the bad of it. Wadah? Is it clear? Tayyib, inshallah. Keep going.
Of not profit to me has been my wealth.
Tayyib. So this particular man, he says, my wealth, it doesn't avail me. It doesn't do anything for me now. Before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Keep going.
My power has perished from me.
My power has perished from me.
Seize ye him and bend ye him.
Tayyib. At this point, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he cuts off all excuses. Allah says, فَخُذُوهُ. Take him. Seize him and then burn him. Put him in chains and torture him. All this is occurring because this person did not even what? Take the heed and the understanding to prepare himself in this dunya. He or she did not care about what they said. And as the Prophet ﷺ mentions in another hadith, أَكْثُرُ مَا يُدْخُلُ النَّاسَ النَّارِ. The most thing, or rather that thing that which enters the people in the hellfire the most is that which they say in their private parts. That was in between the jawbones and their private parts. Majority of the sins that people commit goes back to these two things. That's what they say, and that's what they do with their private parts. So therefore we have to be mindful about what we say, because that's the asl of everything. That's the origin of everything, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the importance of the tongue, certain sins that a person commits with the tongue, okay? And also how to avoid those particular things. But before we do that, I want you to think about something. What is one of the scholars of the past, he mentioned a particular statement. I want everyone to think about it. He says, لا تجد شيئا من البر واحدا يتبعه بر كله غير اللسان. The Prophet said, قال بعض السلف. Some of the Salaf, they mentioned that you will never find an act of righteousness that mandates other act of righteousness to follow it except for the tongue. And I'm going to explain it. He said, verily you will find a person. He says, تجد الرجل يصوم النهار ويفطر على حرام. You will find that this particular person, he fasts in the morning time, but he does what? He commits the haram at night time. He breaks his fast by doing the haram. يقوم الليل. He prays at night. ويشهد الزور في النهار. But he lies and he bears false witness in the morning time. But you will never find a person who is conscious of what he says. He's always thinking about, no, I don't want to lie, because Allah's going to write that down. I don't want to do this. You won't find this particular person who's so conscious of what he's saying and then have actions to contradict that. Alright? That he's so concerned, he wants to be someone who's upright. He wants to be someone that's known as speaking the truth. This individual is very rare that you will find him that he won't pray or he won't fast. Y'all see that? So therefore, because he's so concerned with speaking the truth, right, that the righteous action are going to follow that. As it comes in another hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that when a person wakes up in the morning time, the body says to the tongue, "Ittaqillah fina," fear Allah in regards to us, because if you are upright, then we will be what? Upright. But if you err, right, and you're corrupt, we will also be what? We will also be corrupt. You have a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam where he mentioned, "Ala wa inna fi jasad mulghatan idha salahat salaha jasad kulluhu wa idha fasadat fasada jasad kulluhu ala wa hiya qalb." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that truly indeed is a morsel of flesh in the body. If it's sound, the whole body is sound, and if it's corrupt, the whole body is corrupt. Truly indeed is the what? Now, what is the connection between the heart and the tongue? Because we know from different verses and different hadith, it talks about the tongue. Especially in the hadith I just quoted, which also in the Sunnah of Tirmidhi, he said what? That the body says to the tongue, "Ittaqillah fina," fear Allah in regards to us, because if you're upright, then we will be what? Upright. So, Salih, what is that connection? What is the connection between the heart? If the heart is firm and upright and sound, then the whole body is sound. But if it's corrupt, the whole body is corrupt. So how do we understand that hadith? And the next hadith that states that if the tongue is upright, then the body will follow.
Normally you say what's in your heart.
Huh?
I said normally you say what's in your heart.
Like you say what's in your heart. Play it. What do you say, Sheikh? You understand the question though? You understand the question? So the question is, basically in one hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said if the heart is sound, everything else is good. But in another hadith, he states that the body says to the tongue, if you're upright, then we're going to be upright. But if you're corrupt, then we're going to be corrupt.
I think the heart is the seat of it. Everything flows from the heart.
Mm.
So what's the heart? Like you say, what's in his heart really comes out in the tongue. So it's harder to see the place of everything.
Play, what do you say, Sheikh? The tongue. Oh, you don't know? You know? Play it. That best.
I was gonna say kind of like the idea where whatever you speak,
Mm.
then it becomes an action. So like where someone says, don't say you can't do something, because then you won't be able to do it.
Mm.
The tongue says that you can do something, and your body will follow.
Play it. This is because, alhamdulillah, all of you are correct. Actually, what the person says with his tongue is, as the scholars of the past, he mentioned, the tongue is the translator of what? What's in the heart. What a person expresses is what they actually feel. But also on the flip side to that as well, the scholars of Islam, they also mentioned that sometimes some people are not eloquent in expressing that, but know for sure that which is in the chest is either far worse or what? Or far greater. But it will show what? In your action. It starts where it starts in the heart. But the heart, it manifests itself. And one of the first places that it manifests itself is what? On the tongue. And then the rest of the body will do what? It will follow. طيب, alhamdulillah. So we have that, ikhwan. But one of the things we also want to mention, inshallah ta'ala, and we're not going to take a long period of time, but just to show the seriousness of the tongue. Iyakum wa lisan. Beware of your speech. This is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He also says in Surah Al-Qaf, verse number 18, 50:18. Who has it? 50:18. ما يلفظ من قول. You got a Sheikh? You need your glasses. Alright, sorry.
Not a word does he utter, but there is a signal by him ready to note it.
طيب. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, ما يلفظ من قول إلا لديه رقيب عتيد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions that the person does not utter something. Anything. ما يلفظ من قول. The person does not say anything except for there's a what? A watcher over him ready to do what? Record it and write it down. Therefore, if that is the case, and notice Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not say only that which is khair, that which is good the person say, the angels do what? They write it down. Allah Azza, He said, مَا يَلْفَظُ مِنْ قَوْلٍ. There's not anything that this person utters out of his mouth, out of his two lips, that is what? It's written down. It's maktub. We're going to write it down. And you will see that on the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah. It will be presented to you. Therefore, if we know that this, everything that we say will be written down, the person at that point should be cautious of what? What they say. Any Muslim aqid, any person who has any type of intellect, should be cautious at this point of what they say. Also, when they're angry, when they're not angry, when they're joking, and so on and so forth. Because whatever you're trying to achieve, the reality is that thing is going to subside, but that deed is going to remain forever with Allah. An example. Let's say if I'm hanging out with Saleh, and mashallah, Saleh is a good friend of mine, which he really is. And I like Saleh, but I just want to make him laugh. So I think of a joke, right? Think of a joke. And I tell Saleh the joke, but I'm lying in the joke. So I tell Saleh this joke, but I'm lying. Saleh laughs, ha ha ha, right? After that joke is over, it's done. But that deed, what? I sinned with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right or wrong. And that deed remains forever with Allah. So that what you're trying to achieve doesn't really mean anything if you're not doing it for who? For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright? So we want to be mindful, brothers and sisters, that we say. Also, I want you to look at another ayah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala connects success to that which a person says, and is also his or her actions. Look at Surah Al-Mu'minun, verse number 3. Mu'minun, verse number 3. Surah Al-Mu'minun, verse number 3.
To avoid vain talk.
All right, I'll start from the beginning. There's only 3 verses.
The believers must eventually win through those who humble themselves in their prayers, who avoid vain talk.
But when again in the first verse, when everyone reflects, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. That the believers are what? They are successful. They have succeeded. Alright? And then the next verse, number 2, he says what?
Humbling themselves.
In their prayer, they have what? Khushu'. They're focused in their prayers. So someone who is focused in their prayer, they're not rushing through their prayer, they're not praying like a chicken, for lack of better words. Someone who's conscious of what they're doing, calling on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when they're in their sujood, understanding what they're saying. This person, inshallah, is on the what? On the tariq of success. He's on the path of success. Right after the salah, Allah mentions what? The third thing, in verse number 3.
Avoiding vain talk.
They avoid what? They avoid what? وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ
They avoid vain talk.
They avoid vain talk. Now this goes 2 ways. The first way it goes that a person avoids what?
Talking reckless.
Just talking reckless, for lack of better words. Lying or being belligerent or acting irate with his speech. Right? Lying and just all these different, using different type of vernaculars that la yanbaghi, it's not befitting that a person use, cursing and things like that. Right? So this is just from one aspect. That he or she avoids speaking like this. Another aspect is that what he avoids being around people who speak like this. Alright? Because as you know, الرجل على دين خليله, that the man is on the religion of who? Or the people he's around. Alright? And we also want to be mindful of this because water will eventually seep a hole through a rock. Dripping water will seep a hole through a rock. And your heart is more what? Fragile than that. If you're around these people all the time that curse, and this also goes to the children as well. If you hang around nothing but friends that curse and do this and use all different type of speech, eventually you're gonna do what? You're gonna start to do it. You're gonna start talk about like this behind Ummi and Abi's back, right? So you want to be mindful of this as well. So when Allah says they avoid vain speech, it goes 2 ways. They avoid what? Being the person that does it, and they also avoid being around these people that do it. Alright? So we want to have that in the back of our minds. But the point is as well is notice that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala connects success. He starts with the verse by saying, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ, that the believers are what? Successful. They got the reward, they got Jannah, they want it. They have obtained the ultimate success, the ultimate bliss. Then he starts off by saying what? The salat, they concentrate in their prayer, and they also do what with their tongue? They avoid vain talk. Being the one that does it and being around those who actually what? They do it now.
But, I mean, when you speak of vain talk, it's not necessarily like the cursing and it's just like just talking for no reason. Right?
Alhamdulillah, I'm glad you mentioned it. So when I use cursing, there's just an example.
Yeah.
Person just speaking, acting belligerent and irate and so on and so forth. But also one of the understandings is that a person uses kalam la fa'ida fiha. Just the person just talking just to be talking. Right? There's no benefit to what he or she is saying. They just talking because the sun is up. Right? There's no fa'ida coming out of it. You just talking. Right? So, or some people do. They just be lying.
Yeah.
Right? Just trying to take up time. It's just start lying. All right?
Look like somebody.
Huh?
I said I'm trying to look like
But
somebody.
you know what I'm saying? So there's one of the things that as far as vain speech is what talking but there's no benefit to it, and also obviously that which is clear, al-zahir, that which is clear that a person is involved in vain speech, lying, cursing, and things like this. But also you want to show that some of the companions as well, and we know that there's no people better than the companions after the Anbiya. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, he had an interesting habit actually to keep himself. We know the status of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned that what if the iman of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, if the faith of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was put on a scale, on one side of the scale, and the faith of the rest of the ummah. All right, notice he didn't just say his ummah at that particular time. He mentioned the ummah in general. So it means that one understand is what? Hatta yawm al-qiyamah. If the faith of the ummah was put on another scale, the faith of Abu Bakr would do what? Outweigh the whole ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The status of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. But yet Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he had an interesting habit. One of the habits that Abu Bakr had was that sometimes he would put small pebbles in his mouth. It was said that Abu Bakr would put small pebbles in his mouth. And at one day, يوم ما دخل عمر الخطاب على أبي بكر الصديق. On one occasion, Umar al-Khattab, he actually entered upon Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and he had these pebbles in his mouth. And Umar was like, bah. He was like astonished. Like, what you doing? And Abu Bakr, he mentioned that basically what? My tongue has forced me to do that. Basically, he will put these pebbles in his mouth, so before he can speak, it will do what? It would stop him from doing what? From speaking. Now, we're not saying from this point on people start walking around with pebbles in their pocket and start putting them in their mouth, so on and so forth. No. Right? This is Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. He had a different type of iman and things like that. But alhamdulillah, I actually knew a few brothers that would actually do that. But the point is that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he understood the importance of a person being mindful of what you say. And it's that serious. And it's unfortunate, that very few today we actually understand the weight of what we're doing, of that what you say, the words, the weight of words that that carry. All right. And this is also why Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, "Ma min shay' ala al-ard." And I want y'all to think about this. He said, there's nothing in this world, on the face of this earth, that needs to be imprisoned longer than the tongue. Ibn Mas'ud, he said, there's nothing. Ma min shay' ala al-ardillah. There is nothing on the face of this earth that needs to be imprisoned longer than what? Than the tongue. The person, and let's talk about some of the things that actually a person can do with the tongue. Person lies, right? Namima causes fitna. He's quick in divorcing. Then he what? Nadaman ba'da dhalik, he regrets it. Or she's quick to ask for what? A khula. Right, and then she regrets it. Or the person what? Commit shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright? Akbar of them. The biggest sin person commits while doing what? Commits with his tongue. Worshiping other than Allah. All these particular things. Shurb al-khamr, drinking alcohol. And this is why also some of the scholars of the past, they mention this is why a person has two sets of teeth, meaning the top and the bottom, and then two lips. What? To keep the what? Keep your mouth shut. Alright? This is what some of the scholars of the past they also would mention. And they would say that it's amazing that it takes a person 2 years to learn how to speak and 40 years how to learn to be quiet. Alright? It takes a person 2 years to learn how to speak and then 40 years to learn how to shut up, for lack of better words. But it goes to show you the seriousness of what? Of the tongue. Brothers and sisters. So we want to just be mindful of that which we say. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ explained to Mu'adh. He said, Kuffa alayk hada. Beware of using this. And it was amazing. The Prophet was astonished when Mu'adh asked him, O Messenger of Allah, are we really going to be held accountable for that which we say? So once again, it just goes to show you that yes, you'll be held accountable for everything that you say. Once you reach the age of puberty, regardless of your age, once you reach the age of puberty, all excuses are what? They're cut off. You are held accountable with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright? Hatta tamut. Until you die. You'll be held accountable for everything that you say. And Allah Azza wa Jal will remind you of that on Yawm al-Qiyamah. This is why it's very advisable for the brothers and sisters, including myself, to be mindful. Because that's the beginning of all shar. That's the beginning of all evil. We want to quote a hadith, and we'll end with this hadith, and we'll take questions, inshallah. The Prophet ﷺ marra biqabr. He passed by a grave, فَقَالَ إِنَّهُمَا لَيُعَذَّبَانِ وَمَا يُعَذَّبَانِ فِقَبِيرٍ. The Prophet ﷺ, he passed by a grave, and he said that these two men are being tortured. And I want you to think about the next thing that he said. He said they're being tortured for something that they thought was insignificant. Hadith says, the actual translation is that these two men are being tortured for something that they thought wasn't a big deal. But it is a big deal. Rather, it is a big deal. Then the Prophet ﷺ, he says, as for this one, he didn't save himself from what? Right? He didn't make istinja. He didn't clean himself from the urine when he used the bathroom. And then as for the second one, he would do what? Kana yamshi bi namima. He used to what? Slander, backbite, do all of the particular things. Cause fitna in the community. Cause fitna amongst his brothers. Cause fitna amongst his sisters. Alright? All because of what? The tongue. And know for sure that Allah only punishes a person because of two things. Either he punishes the person because they left off something that was obligatory, like salah, like zakat, fasting Ramadan, or he punishes them because they what? They're doing something they what? They're not supposed to be doing. So Allah is torturing this particular person because of what? Because of what he said. Because of the fitna that he caused. Alright? So therefore, we want to be mindful of that, inshallah ta'ala. We don't want to be from these men. And also, there's another hadith that we know that even one of the men who are being tortured in the barzakh, in the life of the grave, we also know this particular individual had his mouth being ripped open. On one side, the hooks being ripped open to the back of his neck. And then the other side, the angel will go to this side, put hooks in his mouth, and then snatch it. To what? To the half of his face will go back to the what? To the back of his neck. And when it was finally inquired why this man was being tortured like this, it's because what? He used to lie. With his lies, what? Muntashar. Alright? It was spread everywhere, all across the earth. Now somebody may say, well, how's that even practical? Especially in today's time. Well, it's easy. A person be lying on Facebook, lying on all these different social media platforms, what everybody knows, media. We ain't going there. Alhamdulillah. We ain't going there. Alright? Alhamdulillah. We ain't talking about politics. But the point is that these particular things, right? It's so easy for people to lie today. We don't think about it. Alright? Just joking around with your family, with your kids, with your brothers. Just lying. We want to be mindful, inshallah ta'ala, that one is advice to myself and there's advice to everyone else. So one of the characteristics of lying, we'll end with this, inshallah. Just to show you how foolish it is to lie. One of the characteristics of lying, that it shows that a person fears the creation more than he fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the reason why we say that is because if Salih came to me, for example, he asked me a question, وَتَرَدَّدْ, and I'm hesitant. And I tell myself, no, I need to lie to Salih to get out of this problem or the situation. Knowing that what? By lying, I'm going against who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the commandments of Allah. But I fear Salih so much that what? Now I'm going to lie to Salih. Forget that it's haram, but I'm going to lie to him because I don't want no problems with what? I don't want no problems with him. So one of the characteristics, even though people don't even think about it like that, but one of the characteristics that lying, it shows that a person has some type of deficiency in their belief, and that they fear the creation more than they fear who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we seek refuge in Allah as well from that, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us better brothers and sisters in this deen. We ask Allah as well to make us better Muslims in general, so we can be written down from those who are truthful. So I advise myself, and then I advise my brothers and sisters with the nasiha of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with the advice of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. لما أخذ بلسانه ثم قال كف عليك هذا. So I advise you all with the advice of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and myself when he took his tongue and he said, "Oh Ma'ad, beware of using this." طيب. That is my advice, and that's the class for today. Does anyone have any questions about what we mentioned?
I have a question, but I thought about that that narration when the Prophet Muhammad told the joke to the old lady.
That there's no old people in Jannah.
Yeah.
Hey, and you know, alhamdulillah, jazakallah khair, I'm glad you brought that up, because you'll find the other hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam where a lot of people, we joke, what? Because we're hanging out, chilling with the boys, so on and so forth. And you joke because you want to make people laugh and things like that. And then we lie. But if you look at the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he also joked around with his companions. But he joked around with what? The truth. An example of that is when he told the old woman, as the brother mentioned, when he said that there's no old people in Jannah. And she became sad and she left. And the Prophet ﷺ called her back and informed her that what? That you'll be young. Right? There are no old people in Jannah. Joking with the truth. Another example of this is that I believe in I can't remember if it was Nasai or Tirmidhi. They actually have a chapter that talks about the joking of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And there was one companion by the name of Abu Isa. Abu Isa. And Abu Isa means what? The father of who? Of Isa. And we know Isa alayhi salam didn't have what? So on one occasion, this companion came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he told him his name. He said, "I am Abu Isa, the father of Isa." And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Isa does not have a father." All right, just joking around with this particular individual. All right. Also, you have another in the situation where there was another companion who had very big ears. All right, he had very, very big ears. Huh?
No.
Oh, he had very, very big ears. And the companions, they would joke around with him saying that, for example, that you are the possessor of what? Of the big ear. All right? Just joking around like this. And obviously the person didn't mind them joking around with him like that. So therefore, when a person jokes, they joke with the truth. Now, obviously, when we talked about before, we talked about nicknames. And one of the things about nicknames is that the person should not mind you calling them that particular what? That particular name.
They should actually like it, right?
All right, it's something that they like it is. And also, even if they like it, though, it shouldn't be something that's what? Offensive. All right, offensive. Because some people, depending on their culture and things like that, they don't see certain things to be offensive.
Or
All right?
not vulgar.
Huh?
I said, or something that's not vulgar.
Right. Well, something that's not
This
vulgar.
day and age, people
Especially
like
this
it.
day and age, they take all different types of words and say, well, no, I don't mind being called such. No. You know what I mean? All right, so we don't want to use that. So basically, for an example, and I'll give you an example. A person who is, and I don't know why this came to mind, but I'm bald, right? So a person who's bald, right? And even the word bald is not something haram or anything like that. But if someone that came to me and said, hey, yo, baldy, all right, I'm going to feel what? I'm going to feel offended. All right, don't call me bald, akhi. All right? But you can go to another brother, he may say, hey, yo, what's going on? I can see my reflection in your head, or something like that, right? And you're just joking around with him, and he doesn't mind. And they start joking around and things like that. And that's perfectly fine with that particular person, all right? So anyway, as far as joking around and dealing with each other, person wants to be mindful of that which he says. Because again, as we want to quote the ayah in Surah Al-Qaf, مَا يَلْفَظُ مِنْ قَوْلٍ إِلَّا لَدَيْهِ رَقِيبٌ عَتِيدٌ, that a person does not utter anything except that is what? Written down with Allah Jalla wa Ala. Alright, please, any questions, inshallah? Before we end? No? طيب إن شاء الله جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. سبحانك وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت وأستغفر الله وأتوب إليه. I think the adhan is from a few, inshallah. Anyway, حياك الله يا شيخ.
About 10-15 minutes.
I was listening to this class, and the brother said that if